Anybody who's been in a soul crushing job will understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
To actually get up in the morning and go to work doing something that you don't love anymore is painful
Yeah.
with our diagnosis. It's literally painful.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Neurodiverging podcast. My name is Danielle Sullivan. I'm your host. I'm very happy to be here today. Today, we have an interview I'm really excited about with Shell Mendelson, who is an ADHD career coach, both ADHD themselves and somebody who works with ADHDers. I should just clarify. They've been in this field for over 30 years and specialize in helping ADHD individuals get the most out of their jobs, especially folks. I asked her on specifically for people who are going through job transitions. I know a lot of us are in this space right now, and it's one of the most common questions I get in our inbox is I'm an ADHDer and I'm looking to change my job and I'm not sure how to do it or how to find something that works for my kind of brain. So I'm really excited to have this conversation today. Before we get into it, I do, of course, as always, want to thank my patrons over at patreon.com/neurodiverging. Those folks are here in community with me, helping to support this podcast and help us raise funds for lower income neurodivergent people to receive coaching services. So I'm really grateful to them. They help the sliding scale function. And they help keep us going. And if you are interested in joining our community and supporting this work, you can check us out at patreon.com/neurodiverging. And as always, show transcripts, blog articles, other podcast episodes are all up at neurodiverging.com, along with our coaching services, which are not career coaches like Shell's, but we do life coaching and other kinds of support for late identified neurodivergent folks. So now let's talk to Shell. Welcome, Shell, to the Neurodiverging podcast. I'm so excited you're here. Just in the brief chatter we had before hitting record, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Danielle. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
I'm the one who's honored, I promise. So I told folks briefly already that you're a career coach. You've been doing this forever, and you work specifically with ADHD clients. I'd love to know a little bit more about how you got into this field. And also, thank you for being in this field because it's so hard to find high quality career coaches nowadays, and it's so needed.
It started almost 35 years ago when I got my master's degree. I wanted to go into counseling because my number one thing was helping people. Luckily, I knew counseling was what I wanted early on, which is not true for everybody I work with. A lot of people don't know that, but I was fortunate and I was lucky enough to begin working as a vocational rehabilitation counselor. What we did was work with individuals who were disabled to help them find work that matched who they were within their disabilities. And at the time I was doing it, basically, it was mostly physical disabilities. But back then, ADHD was really not a thing. I was always able to determine when I was kind of burning out a little bit and I needed to pivot to something different. And what I knew at the time was that I loved the career element of it. And I wanted
Mhm.
to work with individuals in career transition. I always loved What Color is Your Parachute,
Mhm.
which was a book written by Richard Bowles probably
It's a
50 years ago.
classic. Yeah.
It's a classic. At the time, he offered a training, which again tells you it was a long time ago. And I was trained by him directly. And he then became my mentor. And I proceeded to work as a career counselor using the parachute system for many years, up until the point where I started my own company, which was called Kids Art, and it became an international franchise system. And that's a long story. That's going to take too
That's a
long to
part
go
two.
into.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part two. But the result of that was I learned so much about myself and about what was okay and what wasn't okay. And what I
Mhm.
learned from that was that I loved doing the work as a career coach. That was my where my heart was. As the CEO founder of this company, I wasn't enjoying my work on a day-to-day basis anymore. I was actually miserable.
Mhm.
Anybody who's been in a soul-crushing job will understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
To actually get up in the morning and go to work doing something that you don't love anymore is painful
Yeah.
with our diagnosis. It's literally painful. I was so miserable that my co-business owners were starting to notice, the franchisees were starting to notice, and I was getting literally called out on the carpet a lot by my own company. They were trying to tell me this isn't working. I was undiagnosed. So another thing is, if you've ever worked with an undiagnosed neurodiverse person, you know that that's not fun either,
Yeah.
right? That could be difficult. And I was one of those people. So I'd like to say I have a little bit of karma to clean up there. It didn't end well, but it did end. I felt like this albatross around my neck had to come off some way,
Mhm.
and it didn't come off in a fun way. I was very traumatized by the whole experience,
Mhm.
but also relieved.
Yeah.
So it was trauma plus relief. And the first thing I did was go back to working with clients as a career coach. And the first client I had was very severely ADHD. And I realized, oh my gosh, I can relate too much to this person. And then I went literally crawling to the bookshelf where I had a book that a friend of mine had sent me 2 years earlier that I stuck in the drawer, never
Yeah.
looked at, on ADHD.
Yep. Yep.
She was going to tell me something. She was a therapist, right?
Mhm.
And she never said the words out loud. She just sent me the book. So I
Mhm.
put it in the drawer and I literally went crawling over to that book,
Yeah.
flipped it open, and saw everything that spoke to me. And I'm sure many of the people that listen to this have had a very similar
Oh,
experience.
yes.
That once you see the characteristics, the first thing for me was you go through all the emotions. You go through the emotion of, oh man, I'm so glad I'm not crazy. Obviously, I'm not crazy. This is actually a thing.
Mhm.
And other people have this as well. And it's really important now for me to figure out how to get diagnosed.
Mhm.
So I immediately found somebody to give me a diagnosis. And I made that appointment and I will never look back.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I always say is, if you think you have ADHD, and I work with people who say they have the characteristics and they suspect,
Mhm.
and I always say, if it looks like a duck, go get the diagnosis.
Yeah.
Because then it just sort of puts a seal on it. It makes it easier to navigate going forward. And it makes it easier for me because I decided at that point I was only going to work with neurodivergent clients.
Mhm.
That made that was a decision that was like so easy for me to make at that point.
Yeah.
And I did that and I never looked back.
Yeah.
And I have more fun with my the people in our tribe.
Mhm.
I always love my work, but now I love it more.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that was kind of how I got to where I am now. And I started building on it and building on it. And then as I continued to learn more about what we needed to do a parachute kind of process, but it needed to be much embellished compared
Mhm.
to the one that's been around for years. And I started adding to it, adding graphics to it, adding different exercises to it, making it more cohesive. And the more I did that, the more it sort of hit me that, oh, you need to write the book now, right?
Mhm.
You need to get the book elevated. Getting the whole book published and going through that whole thing was like an experience. It was another, what I call, branch on my tree
Yeah.
of, well, yeah, that's one of the images I use when people are building their careers, different branches of
Mhm.
your tree. And your tree trunk is essentially the foundation. My foundation is education. Everything I do from the ground up has to do with educating on some
Mhm.
level. And so my definition may be different than somebody else's. My definition is to impart information, inspire, uplift, and to elevate
Mhm.
people with information, and just to get in front of people and have conversations like this.
Thank you so much for sharing that and for your vulnerability in it too, because I know, especially working with a lot of late identified folks and being one myself, that a lot of us do go through that. Should I get the label? Will the label hurt or harm? Will it help? And for a lot of us, it does really help to have that, like you said, stamped, right? It's
Yeah.
validating in a way. So,
I never called it a label. I called it the diagnosis.
yeah, yeah,
And so I don't talk about, I only talk about my ADHD with people that I know that and trust.
yeah.
So it's a whole different conversation,
Hmm.
actually, when I'm talking to people about ADHD in the workplace or
Yeah.
ADHD when you're making a career transition
Hmm.
and how it impacts you. That's obviously a safe place, and that's where I use the term the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah. No, definitely. I hear you about the need to stay safe with what is basically medical information.
Because not everybody understands, and you have to be
No.
careful.
So I'm
So,
somebody who totally stumbled into where I am now. I got my master's in religious studies. I was going to teach. Right around that time, I had my kids. My kids got diagnosed. I had major postpartum depression that wasn't identified, later got identified as autistic ADHD, and kind of started this podcast. And then from that became a coach. So that's like in a nutshell, kind of my trajectory. So I really fell into this career, and I've now been certified as a coach multiple times. But when I started, I was like coming from this very different field with skills that were transferable, but not quite, I didn't have I had to learn a lot. I often wish that I had had some kind of like a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more support in that career transition. And I know a lot of the folks that I work with who are in my Patreon, I was telling you, in our Discord, are going through career transitions right now. A lot of folks go through burnout in a current job and then are like, I need to do something different. This is not working for me. So I would love to talk more about how we can help people in career transition. What should they know? What are some of the things that a career coach can offer? Because I think people just don't know, like that folks like you exist and that you can support them through this.
yeah, well, I've been doing this so long that I've been doing basically the process that I learned from Richard Bowles for many years, and it's worked. That was the one that I stuck with because
Mhm.
I loved it. I loved it for me. It worked for me. And whatever you do, obviously it has to work for you
Yeah.
before it works for somebody else. Now that's a key right there. If you're doing work that you're doing because you think you should, or it's going to make you money, or you think it's going to get you what you need, but you don't really love it or enjoy it or feel a connection with it, feel excited, energized, elevated by it. It feels like drudgery. And when you talk about burnout, that's what leads to burnout right there.
Yeah.
It's important to really recognize when you're feeling those things. And what I always tell people is that when you're feeling that negativity about the job you do, that you're in the wrong job. It's the
Mhm.
wrong fit. There's nothing wrong with you,
Yeah.
nothing. And that's a lot of people really need to hear that. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just the wrong fit.
Not everybody's perfect at everything, right? But we all have a place where our strengths come together and we're able to do amazing things. And so just but that finding and that fit is so difficult, especially I feel like a lot of us aren't aware of our own strengths. And we can hear that we're
Yeah.
being told that we're not doing it right, but since we don't know what they want, a lot like there's a communication gap a lot of the times. We don't know how to do the thing they're asking. So then, like you said, we feel like it's our fault as opposed to we're just in the wrong spot. So I guess I'm just repeating what you said, but I just really agree with you. I strongly agree
Yeah.
with
And
you.
the thing of it
Yeah.
is it's so damaging
Yeah,
emotionally.
it is.
And so people are soul crushing when they come to me, their confidence is very low after having gone through one of these process
Mhm.
programs. And they, feel like there's something wrong with them. When in fact, that's not the case at all.
Mhm.
Not at all. And again, they're just it's just the wrong fit for them. And that means going through this kind of a process to determine what is the right fit.
Mhm.
And going through this process that I do with people will allow them to go back to their employer and say, I see there's maybe a job over here that I would do far better in.
Mhm.
I've gone through this process and I know what it is. I know where my interests are. I know where I'm leaning, what I can get excited about.
Mhm.
And when I'm in that right fit, I can focus more. I'm more energized to stay on task. I'm much more productive,
Mhm.
and I can meet deadlines. Anything that needs to happen, I can do. in that position as long as it's the right fit. It's better to leave than continue in a situation that is so soul crushing that can really damage you even further and cause even further burnout.
Mm.
That just isn't worth it.
As somebody who works with burnt out clients regularly and folks who are trying to regain capacity, I'll say, a lot of folks stay at a job that isn't working for them, completely burn out, end up feeling like they failed their coworkers and their colleagues and their managers, are worried about their resume and any gaps, have huge health
Yes,
issues, and sometimes are
yes,
2 or 3 years before they can rejoin the workforce in any meaningful way, even if it's part-time. And so I think a lot
yeah,
of people it's reasonably are worried about money short term, and I absolutely hear that. And also it's like, well, you can take the break now and find something new, hopefully with support, or you can keep going, potentially burn out and be out of work for 3 years
years.
on to the rest of your life.
Yeah,
And that's not something that needs to happen. That intervening for yourself ahead of time will reduce your overwhelm and your trauma and your like it will improve your life meaningfully to leave earlier. Yeah.
exactly. And go through this process where you're actually acknowledging who you are and you're
Hmm.
actually identifying what is right for you, not for other people. So
Yeah.
when I work with people, they're no longer allowed to hear the input of other people about what they should do, what they shouldn't do, because I put in what's called the career bubble.
Hmm.
So I say this process is going to be 8 weeks, and for 8 weeks you cannot speak with your spouse about what's coming up for you, or your partner, or your best friend, or your family, or anyone outside
Hmm.
of this group. And usually there's a big relief there. And I say if they have a problem with that, they can call me and I'll happily explain, but you can tell them your coach.
Yeah.
This is one of the deals with working with your coach.
Hmm.
Okay. It's a big relief.
Yeah.
And there are pieces of it where they can kind of bring them back in to participate. So it's not like totally shut off for
Hmm.
that period of time. But what it does is it takes away all the outside influences
Hmm.
of coming up with ideas that you're curious about, things that you've maybe always been curious
Hmm.
about. And you want to now explore things that maybe from your childhood you had thought about, but got lost along the way. When you say you fell into this work, I mean, it's just incredible that you actually love coach, you found coaching. That isn't usually the case when people a lot of the people I work with actually say the same thing. They go, I fell into it, but it was
Hmm.
never anything I chose. It
Yeah.
was never anything I really knew I wanted
Hmm.
or why I wanted it.
Hmm.
And so when you go through like the whole process of clearing out all the dust and just really focusing on what it is, who you are, what you want, and acknowledging it without apology that this is it.
Hmm.
And then the way to get there starts to emerge. The options start to emerge. The first step starts to emerge. Everything comes out at that point.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. It's an exciting process to realize that, oh my gosh, I loved doing this when I was a kid, and there were elements of it that I really loved. And then it just went blank
Yeah.
because I knew I had to make a living. So I had to go into something practical. I had to get a degree in something that I could make money in. And
Hmm.
I never even liked doing those things. And so all of those things from the past, those ideas, those interests from the past get put to the side.
Yeah.
But they come rushing back in this process and they start to formulate in a very grown up kind of way, in a way that really makes sense. When you are doing something that really resonates with you and your soul, and that clarity and that focus is what is really important for building like something that's sustainable, and it's going to help you and it's going to make you money,
Hmm.
going to make you a good living
Yeah.
too.
Well, when you're excited
That's
about doing a job, it's easier
yeah,
to it's easier to do the job. That's like a silly thing to say, but it's like I had a lot of internalized like shame and beliefs about what I could and couldn't do before I became a coach.
yeah,
And coaching training helped with that in a way that previous therapists probably should have and didn't really. But I had a good sense of what I was good at, but I didn't know how to find jobs that would utilize those skills. I had this master's degree, right, which is a graduate level degree. And I was like, okay, I'm supposed to use this degree. Like we paid for this degree, we did all this work, we moved to a different state, right, for me to go to the school. And I had all these hangups around like, I put all this energy into it, so I have to use it. And when I allowed myself to shift that and say, this was really important education and I value it and it's done a lot for me. And also, I can go into a field that doesn't use this degree, big scare quotes there,
Mhm.
but uses the skills and uses what I like about it, right? That was a big shift for me. And so when you're saying like, yeah, you might have to go back and get more training, for me it's like, okay, but the training I did for coaching was so much easier because I was so excited about it and I wanted to do it and I enjoyed it. So it wasn't,
Yeah.
even though it took probably the same length of time as a master's degree roughly, it was so much easier than a master's degree. It can feel heavy to do something new, but actually it's so exciting. It's like it lifts you up instead to go get that training, even if it takes a little bit longer, because it's just a completely different lens to look through things.
When it's the right fit, everything feels different.
Yeah,
Everything.
it really does.
And this process that I do is a feelings. I call it a feelings process
Hmm.
because you're feeling your truth about what you should be doing all the way through it. And when something is off, it really stands out.
Hmm.
You really notice, nope, nope. So it becomes a sifting and sorting process. Yes to this, no to this. And that can take the form of, going on an interview and realizing that the conditions under which you're working would not be the right conditions for you
Hmm.
because they have a certain set of rules, a certain culture, all kinds of elements that we talk about, okay, that you really start to recognize for yourself as not being either being the right one or the wrong one.
Hmm.
And so that sifting and that makes it easy to say, thank you very much. I don't think this is a good fit. And it sounds scary to do that when there's money on the line, but I say, okay, you go into the wrong fit and what's going to happen?
Hmm.
Right. And what always happens when you walk out the door the first time is that other opportunities start to show up because
Hmm.
they're the right ones. You know how to find the right ones.
Yeah, you're looking.
And it's
Yeah.
very empowering in a way to just say, I did this for me. I did this for me. It becomes so empowering and confidence building
Yeah.
to really take control over what is okay and what is not okay in the workplace or finding a position. I always say that you can work for somebody for a few years, and I encourage people, as I did. I worked for a couple of companies before I
Hmm.
went off and did my own thing.
Hmm.
But with ADHD or being neurodivergent, we tend to not love being told what to do all the
It's the
time.
truth. Yep.
I can see all the heads popping.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to admit it, but really we don't want people standing over us, micromanaging us, telling us what to do when we already kind of know what to
Yeah.
do and not trusting us to get something completed or making us check in all the time and also if it's the wrong kind of person that is managing you
Oh
for
yeah.
you, that those can be just deal killers all the way down the line. So I say, look, with our brain wiring, at some point you're going to want to look at how do I take my show on the road
Hmm.
and take complete control over it. And yes, there are ups and downs. But guess what? I haven't been fired in 30 years, over 30, because I get to redo, pivot,
Hmm.
add to, take away. And at times it's been a rough ride for sure. I can't say it's perfect, but at least I get to make the decisions. And
Yeah.
that always, I'm the one who gets to think of, oh, how can I reach these people? What do I have to do to reach
Hmm.
to make a shift of some kind? That feels so much better
Yeah.
than being in a job where I have little control over the outcome of if things aren't going so well.
Yeah. And so much of it is about mindset too, because even when you were talking about the difference between begging someone for a job and being able to walk away from a bad fit, that's to me like the standard abundance scarcity mindset, right? Like, is it like there are no jobs and you have to get one no matter what, even if it's going to burn you out and cause years of damage? Or is
Yeah.
it actually there are good fits for you and you can be empowered to find that exact good fit. And the same with business ownership. It's like, okay, do you have to work with other people who you don't really like on a product or a service that you don't really vibe with?
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
can you go out on your own and it's going to be freaking hard, but also you're going to learn so much and you're going to get to make really big decisions about your own life literally every day. Like you get up in the morning and you go, what am I working on today? It's something you chose. It's something you picked with your goals in
Yes.
mind and your needs in mind.
Yes.
And that's such a different mindset and a different way of looking at the world.
Yeah. It's so, in every podcast I've been on, those people have been through, most of them are neurodivergent related
Hmm.
podcasts. Those people have all chosen that route to go on their own and do something that empowers them, that they feel good about, right? And I go, it's not impossible. It really isn't impossible. It's just knowing what you want,
Hmm.
getting planted with the right foundation, really understanding kind of how the system works that
Hmm.
you want to go into or what you want to do, and who your audience is, and who you at what you want to say and how you want to reach them. There's so many good elements to doing it for our brain wiring. I can't.
Yeah.
And also, I think now of all times, if
Yeah.
anyone has any inclination or thoughts about doing that, now is the time to really start getting those wheels spinning and
Hmm.
writing things down, start writing about,
Hmm.
all the things that you want to provide, the
Yeah.
service you want to provide, or any kind of product you want to work on, and
Hmm.
the kind of people you want to work with,
Yeah.
and the kind of conditions you need. These are all things that we go through in this process, is
Yeah.
identifying, defining all those elements,
Yeah.
the skills that you want to use. Usually, what people find when we go through the process of identifying the right skills, the transferable skills that are the most important, what I call must haves in the work they do, they're very often not anything close to what they've been using.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, this really shocked me. My number one was organizing,
Hmm.
believe it or not. Or my number one was initiating or strategizing. And when I asked them, how often in your former work have you been able to use any of the top five? And usually it's like maybe 0 to
Yeah.
5%.
Yeah.
So it's just shocking sometimes to think that we go through life not actually being ourselves, being
Hmm.
who we are, being allowed to shine.
It's so funny how many of us are trained to do the things we're good at, but we hate, as opposed to doing the things we like and are more energized about. Oh, I definitely fall into
Well,
that category.
and the
Yeah.
first step is always knowing what those things are,
Hmm. Yeah.
because very few people really have that recognition of what is it that I want?
Yeah.
What do I want in my work? That simple question, what do I really, really want on all levels?
Hmm.
What skills do I want to use? What people do I want to work with? Under what conditions? And those conditions are vast.
Hmm.
And I do what's called a self accommodation plan with people. They do it, they go through the process and create their self accommodation plan. And even what field, like you could be in a completely wrong field that's
Yeah.
de energizing. And there might be something out there where you can take those skills that you love using and plug them right into the field that you are really excited about learning more about, as one way to make a shift right
Mhm.
off the bat. You've already got the skills. Now it's just about going into finding roles that would fit that
Yeah.
if you're going to work for someone else,
Hmm.
right? We also talk about, how much money do you actually need to make
Hmm.
to, at least to start out, to not live like a on the edge. No
Uncomfortably.
living on
Yeah.
the edge, even in the beginning, even making a shift, should never be living on the edge.
Hmm.
It's not, that will take you right out of your game.
Yeah.
So you've got to know what those numbers are,
Hmm.
right? The last thing is life purpose. And the really cool thing that comes out of this process is you are now able to really identify and put together a 100% on target statement
Hmm.
about what your purpose in life is,
Yeah.
not just your work, because anything you do in your work must align with that purpose, but just really understanding why we're all here.
It's so important. I'm in positive psychology coaching. That's my primary jam. And positive psychology is all about what are your projects? What are you here for? What do you want to do with your time? So I very much agree with that. It's
Yeah,
huge, huge.
and it comes out of doing this work because it's all about what you want and need
Mhm.
for yourself.
Yep.
So I always say, be selfish. You need
Hmm.
to be super selfish when you're
Yeah.
going through this.
Hmm.
You can't think about what other people's needs are as you're going through this. Not with our brain. You cannot do it.
No.
You've got to let go of all the outside influences so that you can now really start allowing all the possibilities to come through,
Hmm.
all the possibilities, and then narrowing it down, seeing where the cream rises to the top. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shell. I really appreciate you being here. Where can folks like go hire you or find out more about you and everything you do?
Passion2career.com is my
Beautiful.
website. It's also career coaching with Shell, takes you to the same. So whatever resonates with you, Passion to Career or careercoachingwithshell.com. The baseline for working with me is a masterclass. It's a very small group of 4 to 6 people. It takes you through this process, and now you have a network of people that you can stay connected to after. Of course, I would love people to schedule an intro call with me, which you can do from the website. There are plenty of places you can click on the Calendly and schedule that intro call. But also, the way to get started right away is the book.
Hmm.
It's called Unlock Your Career Path, a course for neurodivergent adults and teens. And I like to point out the coffee stain here. You can actually do the PDF download of the book or get the book on Amazon, but the PDF download is available on my website. Anyway, it's really a fantastic way just to get the wheels started.
Yes.
And then if you feel like the class is an
Mhm.
elevated version, so you're getting coaching along the way, you're dealing with all the resistance that comes up along the way,
Mhm.
you're having the accountability, you're working with other people to begin like a networking support
Mhm.
system process. So there's a lot of value in just going
Yeah.
through the 8 weeks as well.
Yeah. I love that you have that all built in. That body doubling accountability piece is so valuable for folks like us. So, thanks. A big thank you to Shell for sharing her time with us today. If you think that Shell might be the coach for you, I would encourage you to check out her book. We have a link down below, and purchases through that link do support us over at Neurodiverging, so thank you for your consideration. If you need coaching for any other life concern, Neurodiverging Coaching has got you covered, and you can learn more about us at neurodiverging.com. Thanks as always to our supporters over at patreon.com/neurodiverging. We appreciate you so much in helping us to support our lower income coaching clients, and we look forward to seeing you again back here very soon. Please remember, we're all in this together.